Good morning everyone and welcome back to a brand new YouTube video. Today I'm taking you through a pull day and potentially a full day of eating. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. Right, we're back in Munster Pro Fitness for a back day. And my first exercise of this particular session is a single arm dumbbell row, which if I'm honest, I used to do an awful lot of back in the day, back when I started off in the gym. And I got great growth out of it. Two things put me off with single limb exercises in general, but specifically a single arm dumbbell row. And number one was the fact that I remember about 2 years into lifting, I got the worst back spasm of all time from a single arm dumbbell row. Now, that's not to say that it was the single arm dumbbell row that caused it, but to me, at that time, it was definitely a case of causation instead of correlation. Anyway, it is a phenomenal exercise and I really like it from the point of view that you can get a proper stretch on your lat at the bottom, and usually exercises in which you can stretch out a little bit more under load are going to be slightly more effective exercises in terms of growing your back. Now, for most back exercises, including machine exercises, you can get that stretch and you should try and get that stretch at the bottom. But with this particular exercise, I just relatively enjoy it. Sometimes it makes me feel like Arnold when I'm bent over and I'm tearing the shit out of the dumbbell, which is why it pisses me off when I see the optimal PTs who don't in fact look like they've even tapped into their beginner gains, chastising and castigating this exercise. So typically you might see people doing one of two variations of a single arm dumbbell row. One variation is the one that you've seen me doing already. And the reason that I like this variation is because I just feel like more of a tank. So it's completely subjective to me and my preferences. Whereas the other variation that you'll see is similar to when they put the bench down flat like this. Your front hand is a touch point. Your opposite knee is another touch point. So providing a really solid base for you to perform the exercise. Then of course you're just rowing with the opposite hand. Now, neither variation is right or wrong. It just boils down to what's most comfortable for you. So if you prefer to have your foot up on a bench, your hand planted on a bench to provide a little bit more support, a little bit more stability, then fire on with that. But if you, like me, likes to be able to look 90 degrees over your left or right shoulder into whatever the nearest mirror is and watch yourself horsing the shit out of the weight, then the standing up variation is probably the best one for you. I think I might be suffering from what some might call karmic retribution. Essentially, it's because I can only assume I spoke so defiantly about how good an exercise a single arm dumbbell row is. And now here I am, 2 sets in, and my lower back is fucked. Fucked in a good way. Well, not really a good way, because it still hurts. It's like kind of a dom soreness, not a type of soreness that would leave you debilitated that you couldn't get out of bed and go to the toilet by your own. What I think I'm gonna do, which is probably the wise thing to do, is cut that exercise at 2 sets. There's probably another good point for you to know. Okay, number one is that no exercise is special, which is in direct contrast to what I said in the first clip. Second thing is, you don't need to do precisely the same amount of sets on every single exercise. I can cut this single arm dumbbell row and I can go move on to a machine row, which is going to be a little bit more comfortable on my lower back. And because I'm short 1 set of what I wanted to complete, which was 3 sets, I can just carry over that set that I didn't do to the machine row. So I can do 4 sets on the machine row instead of what I would typically do, which would be 3. Anyway, I mentioned in the last video that I'm turning into that old man in the gym that I used to always tell to fuck off. And throughout that exercise, niggles in my elbow, niggles in my lower back. I think my days of tearing the most amount of weight at the expense of any amount of form are well and truly over. Second exercise of the session, through no choice of my own, is going to be a chest supported machine row. back is pretty toast. Really and truly, if I wanted to stack on 4 or 5 20 kilo plates or 4 or 5 25 kilo plates, I could probably do it. Now I'll be using a lot of momentum, I'll be using a lot of swing, and arguably, because other muscles are starting to come in, I'll be providing myself with, albeit higher weight and higher amount of reps, a less effective stimulus. Whereas here I'm probably doing 3/4 of the weight that I could do without paying attention to form. And for me, my back is pretty toast, and 3 sets was more than enough. Some exercises are just fun to do, and fun to do as much weight as possible. But other exercises, especially ones that you dislike doing, my best advice to you would be to nail down form as best as possible. And with less reps, with less weight, you can achieve as an effective stimulus, if not a more effective stimulus. Lat pull down. Should you do a double overhand grip? Should you do a narrow grip? Should you do an underhand grip? Right? When I started off, I used to do the conventional overhand with a bar in each arm and pulling it down like so. It's not that there's anything wrong with it. I just have a preference towards a more neutral grip. I find that I can move it more comfortably. I find that I have a stronger grip on the bar, especially when I use these mag grips. So for me, it's just my personal preference. But again, I can't sit here and say that X attachment is the best attachment, that X variation is the best variation, because what you prefer doing is going to have a massive influence on how optimal or how good that exercise is going to be for you. So if there's a handle that you find more comfortable, if there's an exercise that you find more comfortable, just do that fucking exercise. So what you're going to have now is an environment in which there's PTs who desperately need to make an income, who desperately need to attract clients to their brand. They're intentionally trying to be controversial and say things that are going to stimulate the most amount of a reaction, get the most amount of comments underneath their post, and hence bring more exposure, bring more eyeballs to their page. So when someone says a lat pull down is shit for your lats, it's absolutely not. It wouldn't be called a fucking lat pull down if it was shit for your lats. But that's just another example of someone going, how the fuck am I going to attract the most amount of attention? Right, I'm going to say something that's going to piss off a lot of people. That is essentially where a lot of exercise bashing is born. Another fucking 20+ repetition set, which just bores me to tears. The form was good, the form was well locked down. But I mean, when it's taken me 45 seconds to complete a set, I've no choice but to up the weight. Now that's what I call the ideal set. An effective balance between a weight that was heavy enough that allowed me to maintain good form, good technique, good execution, but also had me pretty much approaching failure by rep 8, 9, 10. Did a couple of partial repetitions at the end, but that's completely personal preference and that's subjective if you want to do that. For me, it just allows me to inject a little bit more intensity into the set that I'm doing. But that's what the goal of your training should be. So something like that, form is nailed down and reps are not so high that you're getting so bored and fed up by the end of the set. That's back complete. I didn't end up carrying over the extra set that I missed on single arm dumbbell row into any of the other exercises. My back is a pretty good pump. I was watching a Sam Sulek video where he was like assessing what should be the proxy for knowing that you've done enough volume. And is it not fair to assume that if you've a decent pump, if your back feels good, if your back feels inflated, that's a pretty good indication that you've provided a decent stimulus to that target muscle. And so I'm going off that logic here today. So that's completely ripped from Sam Sulek. Moving on to rear delts, which I'll always train with back. I just don't feel as though it makes sense to train it with shoulders. So like usually my shoulders day would be a day after a back day. So then I'm doing an exercise which has a decent bit of back involvement when my back is probably a little bit tender or a little bit sore from the previous day's session. So I'll just kill 2 birds with the 1 stone. Rear delts I consider to be a back exercise, so I'll throw them in at the end of whatever my rows and pull downs. Someone commented on one of my TikToks a couple of weeks ago saying bro needs to hit his rear delts. I went to see if he had a point, because sometimes, not all the time, but online trolls, you know, they're getting at something. They might be onto something. But anyway, I went and looked at photos of me tensing from the side where potentially you'd be able to see rear delt if it was there. And I learned in that moment that rear delts are probably one of my strongest body parts. Like, they fucking pop out of the back of my shoulder, and it's probably a testament to the fact that rear delt exercises on their own are not going to be enough to build a solid set of rear delts. I think someone who gets strong on back exercises, whether those are rows, whether those are pull downs, they're going to build a solid set of rear delts, because rear delts are obviously going to be heavily involved within any back exercise, rowing or pull down that you do. So if you get strong primarily on all pulling movements, that's going to be a big factor in determining the size of your rear delts. Then obviously just to top them off, maybe to get that extra 10-15%, that's where face pulls and that's where exercises like rear delt flies are going to come into the equation. So because of that, my rear delts are a strong point. I don't really need to focus on them much more. I'll do just 2 sets. No, it's not always the case, but now I just can't be arsed, so I'm just going to do 2 sets. First bicep exercise is going to be a preacher curl. With respect to biceps, there's just no fucking magic to it. Train them hard, train them to failure like you would any other muscle group. In terms of exercise selection, again, you'll see these fucking super nerds talking about what's the most optimal elbow position, shoulder to fucking sternum ratio. Largely bollocks. Pick a preacher curl if you like. Pick a dumbbell incline curl if you like. Pick a cable. Who gives a fuck? Pick 2 bicep exercises, train them properly, train them to failure, and you're going to grow biceps. Something I've been experiencing with, some might say worrying frequency, is an element of wrist pain when I'm doing certain exercises. That could be a barbell bench press, could be a barbell curl, could be a preacher curl. We all know about bracing in general for exercises that we're doing. Not many of us think about bracing your wrists or taking a firm grip of your wrists. Now, number one, for something like a preacher curl, you want to have the bar resting in the foot of your palm, not towards your fingers, which you'll see a lot of people doing. You want that firmly in the foot of your palm here. You also need to have what I can only describe as a solid, conscious brace of your wrists, where you're solidifying their position, where you're not allowing them to be flimsy and flexible and malleable under the bar, whereas they're very much braced and in position. As a result of that, I've noticed significant improvements in terms of wrist pain that I experience throughout various movements. Final exercise on the menu today is going to be a rope, cable, hammer curl. Again, nothing special about this particular exercise, but I've probably said it before and I'll say it again. I like to do one supinated where your palm's facing the ceiling, so one curl variation like that, and one curl variation where your hand is in more of a neutral position. Just subjectively as well, if you're someone who does experience wrist pain on curls, and even if bracing your wrist doesn't help, well then I think something with more of a neutral grip is going to be more comfortable, whether that's with a rope, whether that's simply just doing dumbbell hammer curls. In my experience, a lot less strain on the wrist than conventional supinated or palm facing up curl exercises. Took one physique update earlier and for some reason it was fucking blurry. 30 minutes has passed since I finished the workout, so the pump that I have is probably going to be a little bit less than ideal. We are back at Le Casa Fitness. Really and truly, can't be arsed cooking up something proper. So I'm gonna have another one of the bulking hacks that got like millions of views on Instagram and TikTok. We have precisely 200 grams of Choco Hazelnut Pillows. And alongside that, we've got full fat milk. Oh fuck, I did it wrong. No, sorry, I meant to, I'm gonna put a protein shake in the cereal as well. Like on a bulk, you want to make your life as easy as possible, right? And cereal is probably one of the easiest things to eat, but it also tends to be quite high in calories. I rarely consume a meal that doesn't have protein. So I'm constantly thinking about what's the most convenient meal that I can consume that's relatively high calorie, that's gonna make my life on a bulk as easy as possible, but also how can I get a hit of protein with that as well? So cereal, you have to make minimal changes to a bowl of cereal to make it a pretty decent bulking meal from a protein and a calorie perspective. So 2 scoops of protein into about 500 milliliters of full fat milk, 200 grams of chocolate hazelnut pillows, and simply add the protein shake as you would typically add just milk. I'm actually going to track that. Optimum Nutrition, caramel toffee fudge, 2 scoops. We have Golden Vale full fat milk, 500 milliliters. And finally, 200 grams of chocolate hazelnut pillows. That meal in and of itself, 1500 calories and about 78/80 grams of protein. That's pretty fucking decent for a bowl of cereal. I would nearly argue that out of all the bulking hacks that I've posted, that this cereal one is the best one. You know, no matter who you are, you're going to be able to eat a hell of a lot of cereal. It's got high in sugar, I mean, it tastes nice, and it's just fucking, it's not very heavy. So like you could fill up a massive bowl of cereal, bit of milk, bit of protein powder. The only one that beats that is that massive bulking shake that I used to have with like peanut butter, oats, banana, milk, potentially some protein powder again, which amounted to be like 1500 calories in just like a 3/4 full shaker. And even if you eat a lot of cereal, the chances are 2-3 hours later, you're going to be hungry enough to eat another meal. And then before you know it, it's not even lunchtime and you've half your bulking calories consumed, if not more than that. It is currently 25 minutes to 3 and we're back for meal number 2. Now, meal number 2 is going to be a bulking shake. And I've just had the bright idea to make this day's bulking full day of eating the most convenient / satiating bulking full day of eating possible. Right, so we're going to start off with, I'm going to say about 150 grams of oats. 150, a little bit above. Next up, protein powder. Don't know whether to go 1 scoop or 2 scoops. 2 scoops. Next up, we have peanut butter. So this peanut butter I got from Lidl. I don't know if you can see it, but it's called Maribel Smooth Peanut Butter, and it's probably going to be the best one that you can get for the reason that it's very applicable for a lot of different meals. It's very kind of like liquidy, so it would work well with like putting on top of oats or putting in some like yogurt dish, but especially for this particular shake, it's just going to mix a little bit better. Anyway, 81 grams of peanut butter. Fuck, I need to wipe my mouth. Fuck it. I hadn't planned on doing so, but I used to break eggs into these bulking shakes that I used to make. And indeed, this is a point that I haven't made before. I used to have shakes similar to this. Now, there wouldn't be quite as much peanut butter. I don't think I used to put protein powder in it because I was just a 16-year-old and, you know, my mother wasn't going buying me protein powder. I'd have to pay for that with my own money, which I definitely wasn't going to fucking do. So I used to make like a bulking shake with oats, eggs, milk, what else? I'd put a banana in there as well. Sometimes if oats wasn't in the house, I'd break up Weetabix and put it into the shake. And I used to take that with me to the gym every single day and leave it in the locker. So like it went warm and I'd obviously blend it. I wasn't eating it fucking whole. But I'd put it in the locker and it'd be warm by the end of the session, but I'd still chug it. It would taste like absolute ass. Not that I know what ass tastes like, but it would get the job done. It would give me a decent hit of probably in and around 1,000 calories and somewhere in the region of 40-50 grams of protein. So did the job. 2 eggs. What else? Last but not least, milk. I don't even know if the milk is going to go through the eggs. It's starting to look like that science experiment or that image that every secondary school science book had, where you like try to mix water with oil and I forget the other thing that they tried to mix it with. You know what I mean though, right? So about 350 milliliters of full fat milk. I'd usually put a banana in here as well, but I don't have bananas. Currently doing up the calories for this particular bulking shake, right? So not a whole pile in it. I'll probably drink this in one gulp just for the camera. I've scanned in 2 eggs, 400 milliliters of milk, 2 scoops of protein, just over 80 grams of peanut butter, 150 grams of oats. And that right there, that shake, 2 eggs, 400 milliliters of milk, 2 scoops of protein, 80 grams of peanut butter, and 150 grams of oats in this shaker is 1,642 calories, and the protein is a whopping 111 grams. Now the next question is, can I drink this in one sitting? Slow on you lads. That is 1,642 calories combined with 111 grams of protein down the hatch in probably about 40 seconds. 2 meals, if you could even call them meals, and I'm already on, before 3 p.m, total protein of 189 and a total calorie amount of over 3,000, so 3,081 calories. What I did intend to make, and this was prior to Small Sean coming home and asking me, did I want Camille Thai? And the answer to that question was next stupid question. I was going to grab a bag of microwavable rice. I was going to get these chicken pieces. Rice or pasta, whatever sounds better. Put them in like a creamy, like a super hyper processed creamy chicken pasta or creamy chicken rice, because I'm lazy as fuck. And this was supposed to be a convenient full day of eating. Instead, we're gonna have a variation of chicken and rice. I was expecting it to be double chicken, but I don't need the double chicken. I'm actually glad that it's not, because I've already hit 189 grams of protein today. So the Camille Thai will give me that last injection of muscle protein synthesis, which will take me over about 200 grams of protein for the day. Anyone who hasn't got Camille Thai, I would strongly recommend it, but I can't be held responsible for any potential addiction that you may or may not acquire afterwards. Right there is probably looking at about 600-700 calories, which should take me to about 3,800 so far, which realistically is probably sufficient enough for a bulk. Update, Sean was kind enough to get 2 fucking boxes of chicken, meaning that I was gonna have like a fucking half of one of those kilo tub of strawberry yogurt from Lidl, but I won't need to now, because this will definitely have me over the 1,000 calorie mark, surely over 4,000 calories for the day, meaning that that is me, and this is this full day of eating over and done with. And as per a ritual, it doesn't matter what the meal is, it doesn't matter what the time of day is, you have to half empty the bottle of sweet chili sauce all over what is already a sweet chili chicken. That is the end of today's video. Back day, full day of eating. So the idea behind this was to be a pretty convenient full day of eating, and obviously make your own substitution, make your own chicken and rice. If you're not willing to pay the fucking 20 something quid that probably a Camille Thai costs, whatever you want to do, you do you. Thank you all for tuning in. Appreciate the support and the viewership as always. If you like the video, drop it a like and make sure to tune in to the next one. Take care.